Hey, whiskey lovers, welcome back to Guitars, Whiskey, and Golf. Today we're going to review Maker's Mark BRT-02. This is one of their limited releases that came out in 2022. So I'm a little bit behind the curveball here in terms of reviewing this one, but I'll get into it a little bit in terms of why that is. But first, I just wanted to talk a little bit about my journey with Maker's Mark. Um, when I started getting into scotches and bourbons, say 10 years ago or so, Maker's Mark was always on my shelf, the base Maker's Mark product. That was one of the bourbons that I kind of cut my teeth on 10 years ago and drank a lot of, kind of developing my palate and figuring out what I like and what I don't like. And what I found was that the base Maker's Mark product just wasn't appealing to me that much. To me, there wasn't a lot of depth of flavor there. It was kind of a one note whiskey for me. It wasn't bad, and to this day, I don't think Maker's Mark is the basic product is a bad product at all. It just wasn't providing me like the layers and depth of flavors and aromas that I was looking for in whiskey as I was getting more and more experience tasting different things. So I kind of fell out of favor with Maker's Mark, and I didn't initially pay a lot of attention to some of their other products like the Maker's Mark 46 and Cask Strength, etc. And maybe it's because I kind of fell out of love with the basic Maker's Mark product that, mentally what happens is you're like, well, I don't really like that much. And so you tend to sort of write off the whole product line, which is stupid. I shouldn't do that. And I don't do that anymore because what I found is that although I may not like one particular product by a distillery, I may love another particular product. So be that as it may, I had kind of fallen out of love with Maker's Mark, wasn't really pursuing it that much as a brand until I started getting into these Maker's Mark private selection, these wood finishing series. This particular one is a store pick. And what Maker's Mark started to do is experiment heavily with wood staves and different kind of wood staves. This particular Maker's Mark private selection had French oak staves, Maker's Mark 46 staves. There's roasted French mocha staves, etc. So, and Maker's Mark began developing an entire menu of these private selection bottles, and they would alter the staves to bring out various flavor profiles, whether they wanted to accentuate the fruit component or they wanted something sweeter or something more oaky, whatever. They could play around with all these different types of wood staves, add these staves to the barrels, and they could bring out a lot of different complexities in terms of aroma and flavor. So I started trying some of these private selections, and I'm sure that you see these in your liquor stores all the time. And if you're not like sort of a Maker's Mark fan, you might pass by these because they're not cheap. They're $65, etc., something like that. So, if you weren't like a huge Maker's fan, you might see that and go, $65, I don't know. But let me tell you, these private selection products that Maker's Mark puts out now, these are game-changing spirits. They're fantastic. And like I said, they can experiment with the stave profile and completely change the aromas and the flavor notes that you're getting off of these products. So if you have not tried one of these private selection series Maker's Mark bottles, do yourself a favor, grab one. I think you'll be amazed at how great they are. So enough about that. In 2021, Maker's Mark came out with their FAE series, FAE 01 and FAE 02. hugely popular, widely acclaimed whiskeys. And in 2022, they came out with BRT-01 and BRT-02. BRT-01, the way they worked the flavor profile and the aromas on in those in that expression was the barrels were left at the top of the rickhouse for longer periods of time, where they're exposed to a lot more heat and basically a lot more of varying temperatures. Whereas the BRT-02, which is the one that I'm reviewing today, was brought down lower into the rickhouse, and according to Maker's Mark, really accentuates dark fruits and nuttiness, more nut characteristics and dark fruit characteristics. And what I can tell you is that's absolutely true. It's not BS on the bottle. It's absolutely true. These last 2 years of special releases from Maker's Mark, the FAE 01 and 2 and the BRT 01 and 02, are amazing. These bottles, they're not cheap. They're probably going to run you 70, maybe even $80. Oddly enough, BRT 02 came out last year. Like I said, I couldn't find it in my area. And then suddenly one day, a couple of weeks ago, I walked into one of my local liquor stores, and behind the counter, sitting on the shelf, was a BRT 02. And so I had to jump on it. So let's get into the nose and flavor profile of this whiskey. Whoa. Wow. So the aroma is fantastic. When I first opened this bottle a couple of weeks ago, I was just blown away. I'm getting almond, dark fruit, raisin, plum, very fruity, nutty, like I said, leaning towards an almond, not a peanut. Dark, maybe some molasses. It's sugary, but it's not like powdered sugar. Some whiskeys have a very light, powdery sugar aroma. This is much more dark, even darker than brown sugar. Love it. Let's get into the flavor a little bit. Wow. The explosion of flavor. And this is why, what I was indicating earlier, why I kind of fell off of Maker's Mark, because I was just finding that the base Maker's Mark product was just lacking depth to me. It wasn't bad, but it was a little bit one note. This is unbelievable. Almonds, dark fruit, raisin, plum, spicy oak, but not bitter. That's the thing. And I've mentioned this in a lot of my other videos. Sometimes oak, and I've experienced this with Elijah Craig sometimes. Sometimes the oak in Elijah Craig is just harsh and bitter. The oak here is like a vessel for the fruit notes and the almond and the deep brown sugar or molasses. Fantastic. Spice, definitely almost like a hot cinnamon, like a red hot, but that doesn't linger. You get a little tingling of hot spice. You get the oak, you get some dark fruit, and you get some almond characteristics. This whiskey is fantastic. If you find a bottle of the BRT-02, just happens to be hanging out on a shelf, and like I said, I never thought I would see a BRT-01 or 02 in my area, especially now because we're into 2003 and this is a 2023 and this is a 2022 release. Pretty much figured there's no way I'm going to ever get one. And then lo and behold, boom, there it is sitting behind the shelf. And I picked it up for $70. So if you see a BRT-01 or a BRT-02 out in the wild somewhere, and you're hemming and hawing, should I pick one up? This is such a game-changing whiskey. It's the kind of whiskey that if you weren't a fan necessarily of Maker's Mark, you taste something like this, and suddenly you're like, instead of saying, hey, I'm not really that big of a fan of Maker's Mark, suddenly you're like, I want to try all their other products. I want to get back into some of those private selections and store picks and see what I can find there. And right now, I can't wait for the 2023 Maker's Mark limited releases. These are so good. Oh, wow. Just the aromas. You can't sleep on these. So that's it for today. Thanks for joining me at Guitars, Whiskey, and Golf. Go out and enjoy yourself on a nice sunny day. We've got some great weather here in Aurora, Colorado today. So I got out and went on a couple of walks. It was super nice. Appreciate you joining. I appreciate it if you would like and subscribe to the channel. If you love whiskey, come on back and we'll enjoy some other ones together. So take care, everyone. Bye.